Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Books and Shit with your girl, Charli author. We've got a really good episode today. I mean, I say that before we've even started talking, but we've got a really good episode today with the wonderful, the marvelous Michael Anson. Marve is the author of this beast, Firstborn of the Sun. I did that pre-order campaign thing. Yes. Why did I call it a thing? It's a pre-order campaign. I did the pre-order campaign and I did get the wonderful art.
Oh, I love that.
Right. So we'll get to all of that good stuff. And I've got my Waterstones version and I got the orange cover because you had like a yellow and a blue and it was all good. And it was just this huge, exactly. They're beautiful, they're gorgeous, and we will touch on that. Wonderful to have you with me today. How are you?
I'm good. It's a slow Saturday morning, so I like that. I am on deadline, so I'm a bit loopy from not sleeping till 4 a.m. Oh, no. Otherwise, all is well.
All is well. Well, that's good to hear. Obviously, you held up the paperback version, which is out 4th of June. Have I got that right?
4th of June.
4th of June. So once we get through all of the good stuff, we'll make sure to hype that up again closer to the end, because by the time this is out, it will be close to June. So make sure you guys get your pre-orders in. Okay, so first up, as we do with most of our guests, we are going to touch on the journey to publication. So here is your, the floor is yours to touch on how you started writing, why you started writing. Is Firstborn your first book? Any other ventures in the bookish space that brought you to this point, and then we'll build off that and we'll go from there. So off you go.
Okay. Well, I started writing when I was a teenager, and it started with short stories and poems and little things I could write in my journals. It was mostly about boys and feelings and being an angsty, emotional teen. And as I grew older, I kind of settled a lot more into poetry. And I really enjoyed that. I loved just the space to think about life and things and limit myself to like a page. And yeah, that was fun. I really enjoyed that. And a few years down the line, I got the idea for a novel, but it was much harder to write a novel than I thought, because short stories, I think the longest I had written was maybe 5,000 words. And by the time I published my first novel, it was 80,000 words. So it was quite a challenge. It took me many years. I was in uni at the time. I think I had written 3 chapters in 4 years. And finally, when I graduated uni and I turned about 20, I remember my mom saying to me, you've been talking about this book since you were 50. You should maybe write it or stop talking about it at all. And it was the challenge I needed, because then I spent a full year writing those 80,000 words, and it was a thriller. And I'm so very proud of that book. It was titled Birthmarked, and I self-published it when I was 21. And the concepts around it is, we're following the story of a girl who's trying to figure out which one of her parents killed her brother. And that's because she had witnessed her father do it, but he'd returned home that night saying he did not do it. And so she's questioning her memory. She's questioning the fact that everyone seems to be okay with him being in the house. And she's wondering if her mom's in on it. And yeah,
really juicy. I need to see it. I need to read
it. Yeah, it was, for me, it was a bit of a flip on what I thought was normal, in that we see the killer at the start in like chapter 3. And the rest of the book is just gaslighting.
Oh, wow, okay.
And trying to figure out who's, even though we were in the scene, like the reader was in the scene with the character when the events happened, you start to question what you've seen and what you've read, and if she's an unreliable narrator for any reason. So that was so much fun to do, and quite a big task for a first novel, but it came to me quite fully formed. But it drained me. Self-publishing is so much work. It took me another 5-6 years to start working on a different novel. In between that, I just fell back to poetry, which has always been a really good crutch for me. It's like my safe space. So when I start getting overwhelmed with prose and long words, I fall back to just writing poetry. And so I did that in the 5 years in between. And when I got the idea for Firstborn, I knew that the concept I had would naturally fit into a fantasy world. So I didn't really go out looking to write a fantasy novel. I just had this idea where I wanted something on the backdrop of a Yoruba empire with the court and politics and kings and queens and heirs. And I wanted some version of magic because I wanted to pull on the myths and histories that we have, but I wanted it to feel more real. And fantasy is the perfect space to do that. So I found myself writing a fantasy novel, but it was mostly because of the idea I had. But at the time as well, I was working a full-time job. I republished Birthmarked. I did some edits on it and I republished a few years later to His Dark Reflection and just made it, like I said, it was very ambitious for 20-year-olds. So with a bit more experience writing, I was able to go back into it and make it stronger. And I self-published that again. So after that, I was just like, this is a lot of work. It's like a full-time job because you have to be a writer and fully take off that hat and fully commit to being a one-man publishing house. And that can be fun, but because my day job's really demanding, I just did not have the bandwidth to do that again for a series that I knew was going to be, I wanted to be bigger and, you know, there are more books in it. So Birthmarked and His Dark Reflection, it's a standalone. So that meant I had to start querying agents. So I wrote the book in 2022, I think, and I sent it to an editor, like a freelance editor, to have some feedback on it, and I also sent it to beta readers and critic partners. So it's not mandatory to send to editors, but I wanted a professional lens on it because I wanted to really just have as clean a manuscript as I can, which you can do with beta readers. But in this case, I found someone who was affordable and she allowed me paying like 6 months installments. So I was just like, I'll take it because it can be quite expensive. So it depends on kind of who you're getting as well. So I did that. I got feedback from her. It took me like 3 months to recover from the feedback I got from her and like 4 months to implement the feedback.
Was it quite scathing?
It was not scathing because she's really good at, because I've gone back to her. So I've written a new novel and I got back edits from her just last night, actually. Nice. So she was good. But it was just, I tend to write quite clean first drafts. And so in my mind, I've written everything that I can. And so when the feedback comes back and it's like, it's not enough, it throws me off balance a little bit because I start thinking, am I smart enough to fix these problems? Do I know what to do? So it throws me for a loop and I have to like rebalance because I have to kind of dig up the foundation of what I thought I had set. And that can be hard. I think that is the hardest part of my publishing journey every time. As receptive as I am to feedback and I go seeking, looking, paying for it, it's still very much, oh my God, what do you mean it wasn't perfect the first time?
No, you know what? I'll pause you there for a moment because I do feel like I've said this a lot to my friends, you know, in conversation, and it's like writers really do need to accept a certain level of narcissism in that we do think we're amazing. Like, I mean, and in this space, in this market, in this industry, you do have to have a certain level of thinking you are the shit, because if you're going to go into this space where is nothing but criticism or, you know, judgment and stuff, you do need to have at least a quite firm, you know, platform to stand on to know and understand that not all criticism is personal. It's to learn from, but you know what? They're giving it to you because you do have something here that can be molded and you know, fleshed into something wonderful. So there is this sense of, you know, we are quite narcissistic and we want to be told that it's perfect and we want to be told that it's wonderful. But edits are that space where you are humbled very quickly, because, and you know, not even necessarily always in a bad way, because critiquing isn't just the negative. It is saying that this is wonderful, this hit me, this is such a good scene. What if we did this to bring it out a bit more? Or what if we did this to maybe stave it off until later in the book or whatever? So that understanding that, you know, we're not perfect, and that perfection will come from support, external support is such a huge lesson to learn, I think, which is really good. But yes, I jumped in, so continue. So you sent the editor and wanted to get the manuscript as clean as it could be.
Yes. So while I was working on these edits, because I had a pretty clean first few chapters, I submitted to competitions, which I highly recommend, because many of them require anything from 500 words to 10,000 words. And ideally, the beginning part of your book manuscript is usually the cleanest anyways, especially when you've not kind of worked with many editors on it. So I did that, and it allowed me to get kind of shortlisted and longlisted for different kinds of awards, because at the time, the only thing I had was my self-published book. I didn't have any kind of cred in the bookish space. And so I wanted that by the time I'm ready to query, I want to have something to write in my bio section, even if it's like she was long listed on this one thing far away, top 200 or something. And by the time I was querying, I had been shortlisted for things like the Future Awards Prize, some other awards with like Jericho Writers, where I got like a self-edit course, which again helped me to make the book even better. So just a few things there around festivals and competitions and having things to write in that bio section. And so by April 2023, I started querying officially. I got my agent in May, and we spent all of the summer editing again, which is like, I thought this was perfect the second time round, but the last quarter of the book needed like a major rewrite. And then we went on submission in October. And this was perhaps the best part of it, because it was a very quick submission. I think my editor got it on maybe Thursday evening or so, and she just spent all night reading it. And by the Monday, we got an offer. And it was an offer for the series, for the trilogy. And so that just meant that it was a preempt, and they kind of give you a certain timeline, like either 24 or 48 hour time to like accept it. It is very high pressure. It remains the most stressful 2 days of my entire publishing career, because I was
just deciding to accept, or just
deciding to accept, because you're in a position where they want to take you off the market, but you don't know what other people are thinking. And, there is the possibility of an auction, but there's also the possibility of not an auction. And you have someone who wants it now, as opposed to someone who may not want you. Like, it's just it's a game of what ifs, and like you're playing poker, with the publishing industry. And so we just negotiated the offer a bit, and they accepted what we asked for. And so we're like, yeah, sure. Whatever, we'll take it.
Whatever. I mean, I like that you've made that point of, it being a nerve-wracking 2 days, because I've had the same kind of conversations with people at various stages. So whether it's the agent stage, so receiving offers or an offer or whatever, and then it's the submission stage, then it's acquisition, then it's, different people at different stages are all having the same fight. And it's like, well, I shouldn't call it a fight, but just having the same kind of back and forth. Because there is so much, as you said, it's a time of what ifs. You don't know, if you don't take this, is something better going to come along, or is something worse going to come along, and then it doesn't. So you're constantly battling this internal unsurety all the time. And it's just, it must be so terrifying, even, to hear it from someone who's achieved, I say relative, but achieved relative successes. It's nice to know that it's still from a human space, because I think, especially in the current climate, that the kind of rose-tinted glasses of publishing are very much coming down, and people need to understand the work and business and nuance behind all of those steps. It's not just, I wrote a book, I got an agent, it came out, and it was a bestseller, and then I got a film, and then it was perfect, and then it doesn't work like that.
There are many tears in between. Like, I think when I got that offer that week, like, I cried so much, and it wasn't like, it was both like the relief of it, but also being so terrified and thinking, oh my God, should I accept this? Should I not accept this? If I had not accepted it, what would have happened? If I accept it, what, like, it's just because it's the first step into the trad world. And, you know, even the industry puts so much pressure on how you debut, on who you're debuting with, whether you make the list or not. Like, all of these things comes down to the single moment where it's like for you to say yes. I'm like, I'm not adult enough for this. This is too much. Listen, you're telling me to like decide the fate of the rest of my life in this moment. And it's not, of course, because you can always pivot and things happen. But in that moment, it feels like, you know, the power to destroy my life is in my hands, and really it's just a book deal. Like,
that makes sense. That definitely makes
with
sense.
hindsight, it feels like, oh, that's fine. But in the moment, I was stressing out.
Yeah, pulling hair out. See, I think that kind of goes nicely when you mentioned about how you debut, that triggered something. Let me start this slowly. So one thing I really loved about Firstborn in terms of its exposure was that, and I'm going to be very blunt about this, it was a book that I saw everywhere in the same vein as the way I'd seen other books everywhere. And that shouldn't be a thing, but it is, because we do understand that there's this disproportionate exposure to diverse Black and brown authors. So when I saw this book getting the Waterstones this and the Goldsboro this, and like it was just everywhere, I was immediately on board, because I was just like, okay, someone is backing this train, like something's going on, why this book is in my face. So, you know, I'm gonna do this. Sorry, just to say off that, while that's wonderful for you and the author and for, you know, us as a, you know, collective and a thing, it is very important for people to understand that those bells and whistles aren't for everyone. And the fact that you received them, how has it been kind of navigating that space to have quite, I say quite, you know, a huge book, like a huge book, and have people support and champion it in a way that feels active, not just you've got a book and it's out, go and sell it. It's no, we're going to put this in front of people and we're going to make people find it. How has that journey been for you as kind of a leader in that space where so many others haven't necessarily been given that support, if that's right to say?
Oh gosh, that's a big question, because I don't know that I always feel that way.
You don't feel that? Okay.
I don't know that. Yeah, I feel like if my husband was listening to this, he'll be like, every time you're complaining, I tell you it's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you. I think on one hand of it, it is my editor's passion for this book, which at the end of my panic attacks the week of the offer and all of that, I think a part of it is having the editor that I have. And that's because she's really passionate about the book. I remember when she offered, I had a call with her, and she was just beaming and so excited about it, and talked to me. Like, from the way she spoke that day, I remember thinking, oh, she actually understands what I'm trying to do here. And after the call, I felt, I haven't spoken to her enough. And I remember having another call with her, and it was an hour long. And in hindsight, it felt like an interview, but I didn't even realize I had like a long list of questions. And I was just going through it, and I asked her, you know, details about the book, the story, what she thinks about it, what her editorial notes are. We spoke for like a full hour, and from that call, I realized that this is someone who will champion this book. And on the call, I said to her, I'm a Black babe. It does mean that you will sometimes have to push harder. Like, we might get more no's than yeses. And that's because, you know, I can't fix racism, but it does mean that you will have to put in more effort in some of the things that might come easier for some of your other authors. And I just wanted to recognize that. And also in the edits that she had, and just talking about it at the start, she really understood and appreciated the cultural parts of it and what I wanted to preserve in the book. And so people ask me often, you know, why didn't you, you know, how come you're able to let this be in? Or the culture feels very represented. And that's because I really have like her support. And, you know, she's this blonde white woman and she's just completely. I say that she's very when you're curious, like you want to know more, and that allows you to come from a place of respect. And so having that in a champion as an editor, I feel like is the first step, because she's able to carry that energy to the rest of the team. And so when the rest of the team comes to me, they've spoken to her, and I feel like she beams off that energy. Like, this is the energy we're bringing to this project. And so when I speak with my team, I can tell that that has been passed along. Like, they respect what I'm trying to do. And this is not common, and this is not everywhere. And it doesn't mean that there are things that are not difficult. Like, we still go back and forth on things. I ask for things and they say no. But I have this kind of base understanding that everyone on my team kind of supports me to the point where they do want the best for this project. And you know, one of my marketing leads is a Black woman, and I say to her every time we have like a team call, I'm just happy to see her. Like, my eyes zone in on her automatically, because I'm just like, there is someone within when they're having internal meetings who might understand things that even my editor does not. And will speak for me. That's really good. And it makes all the difference, because again, you know, marketing is kind of the visibility where you get to see the book. And I feel like her being a Black woman plays a good role in that as well.
Definitely.
I mean, I can see her influence.
Her influence in it. No, I mean, as I said, coming from the reader perspective, it definitely, you know, she did her thing, because it got onto the pages of the people who needed to see it, and people who would love and respect and engage with it in an appropriate way. And I was so happy to see that positive outcome and see that, you know, positive reception. Sorry, that's the word I was looking for. Positive reception to it. So definitely well done. Are you allowed to say what parts did you have input on or not? Like, did you have a lot? Was that part of your deal? Was that part of, you know, I want to be able to have a say? Or, you know, how does that work?
I am a bit opinionated. Very, actually. To my team's chagrin, I think, because I will demand for things. I will say that I want this and I want everything, and it's under them to say no to me, but I will still ask, sometimes twice. So for example, in my contract, it was really important for me to have audio say, like approval. That's what I'm looking for. And again, because Yoruba is a very tonal, it's a very important language. Traditions are passed across as stories that are told, not written. So it was really important for me that it's a Nigerian or someone with from West Africa that's speaking, and I got that. So we have Folake Oluwafeku, who's reading majority of the book, and we have Adra Ando, who's famously known as Lady Danbury, who's a narrator. So she's like the storyteller telling you the story. She's like the griot in the book. And you know, I loved that I got to say, this is who I want, and that they said yes, of course. but I could direct my team towards them to be like, these are the voices I think will carry well. And that's not something that I don't think, even if I didn't have it in my contract, I don't think that my editor would have pushed back either, because from the start she was really kind of passionate about that as well. Having some sort of input in my cover was something that I also really needed to have, and I took that into my hands. So I sent them like a 40-page document listing the book, the artists that I want, the covers I liked, the covers I hated. Which is why I love it so much now. It's on my wall. And my husband actually chose NK Jules because he knew her art. I didn't know about her, but he's an artist and he's been following her for a while. And he was like, it needs to be her. And when I spoke to her, I'm like, you have a guardian angel, because when we were shortlisting it, he was like, no, I'm not listening to it. It needs to be her. And she is brilliant and absolutely lovely.
It's a gorgeous cover.
And so I had kind of given the brief of, this is what I want, this is what I like, this is what I hate, these are the people you can reach out to. So like doing the job of searching so that it's much easier for them to be like, you know what, you've already kind of done all the research. So
exactly.
And I'm happy to do that. And I do that at different stages in throughout the process. So if there's a festival I want to go to, I will send a list of festivals. I'm like, this is where I want to go. If sometimes they'll be like, oh, we can't apply to all, I just do it myself. So
Okay.
like if there's anything I can do myself, I would do it. I do always try to push as much as possible, but like if they're slow or being annoying, which they can be, to be honest, I would just do it myself. I just did myself like, okay, so now I got into this. Now you have to take care of the rest. Like,
No, and I love that. You have to be bullish sometimes because nobody's going to hand anything to you. You need to be able to advocate for yourself and have, those be able to have those conversations. Like you said earlier, they might say no, or it might not be a thing, but it's about being comfortable enough to ask, because too many people feel like, oh, I'm not sure, or I this, that, and the other. And another point to that is when you mentioned about it feeling like an interview with your editor. It's like any interview in terms of a job, because they've got the money and the power and the job and all that good stuff. You do feel like you're on a back foot. If you're applying for a job, of course you want a job. Yeah, but we forget that they want an employee. So
of course,
two things are happening here. Like, you're allowed
of course,
push back. You're allowed to ask questions. You're allowed to, that doesn't particularly work for me. And people need to, again, take off those rose tinted to be able to push for themselves where required. It's not about fighting, everyone.
Yeah,
It's not about burning bridges or beefing. But
I think you have more autonomy. Like writers have more, authors have more autonomy than they think. And for me, one thing that I always remember is like, it's my name on the cover, so like I want to check everything. I want to. Sometimes publishing can forget to tell you things or post things, and I'm just like, I do want everything to be run by me, not because I'm your boss, but because it's my name.
Exactly.
So show me. And I know I've heard such horror stories, even just in my debut year and from other authors. Having cover approval is not something that is too common, even though it should be. So I do encourage everyone to push back, but I've had authors who just kind of get covers dumped in their inbox like randomly. My editor would never do that to me, because she knows that I would flip. I just like, we would not be friends. I can't even imagine it. And even little things, we're just like, oh, we and I like surprises, sure, but I also see this as a business. I think because I work in the corporate world, so my brain's a bit tuned that way, and I consider it to be like a project. Like, we're in a project management stage, and I want to know the timeline. I want to see everything unfold. It doesn't mean it always happens. This is just like what I would like to do, and this is why they get too many emails from me. Like, I get a thought and I just be like, Bex, do you think? And she's always very kind to respond to me. And I know that, again, the editors who just like ghost you. So I feel very lucky with the editor that I have, in that she has a good head on her shoulders and she's a really lovely person, but she's a champion for her authors. I meet people who, I'm meeting them for the first time. They know about my book and they know that Bex is my editor, and they're like, oh yeah, she was telling me about that at launch. Like, I know now that she's talking to people randomly. Just randomly about the book. So
I love that you've had such a positive experience, because some people don't, as we've discussed. So it's been great that you've had a positive experience, and also coupled with being a strong-willed and forthright person, because sometimes those two things don't mash up. It's like, if I'm too strong-willed, then it all implodes and then I don't get anything. But it's nice to know that it can work out on both sides. So slight pivot. So we've done kind of our introductions. We're going to talk obviously about the book. Okay. Now, I will be so honest. I read this ages ago, so if I forgot some stuff, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But no, I read it when it first came out. So I read it on an ebook. So my actual book is very untouched, because my books are trophies. I've never opened it, but I read it on, like, it's just there. It just sits there. So no. Firstborn of the Sun. So my first thing, before we get into the actual story, I did want to ask this. We know that romantasy or whatever, loads of things are similar and can be like inundated with the same story, just with a different face on it, right? And but if it sells, and people eat it up, that's fine. Were you conscious, and obviously this is your heritage and your culture, you know, being Nigerian, it's like, were you conscious of adding another book to a pile of obviously books that take from West African culture, and conscious of how to make it different? Because one thing, when I first saw it, you know, you have your comparisons to Children of Blood and Bone, and you have your comparisons to Forged by Blood, or, you know, there's I won't say so many, but there are so many. How were you able to think to yourself, how am I going to make this different? How am I going to make this stand out while still adhering to my truth and my authenticity?
That's interesting. I don't know that I was thinking too much in that direction. I was thinking more as a standout in fantasy, like as the broadest version of it.
Yeah.
And that's because for me, world building is world building, whether you're pulling on a culture or you're making it up. And I have a pet peeve where people are like, I can't understand your like real culture, but you can make up like words and like you absolutely get all of that. So
Yeah.
I was trying to write a book that felt original, in the magic system, in the rules of succession, which even if it was not if it wasn't set against the backdrop of the Yoruba Empire and royal courts, I think would still be different. So the magic system feels still different to me. The rules of succession, one of the main rules is like the children of kings can't inherit the throne, so it completely just kind of shuffles and scatters what you would think. So things like that are what I held onto as my kind of unique thing. Then in writing it as a Yoruba person, so I grew up in Nigeria. My entire family is Yoruba. I'm married to an Igbo man, and I keep saying I feel like I'm the first person in my bloodline to do so.
Step outside.
So I grew up with my grandma, who is very much our family's storyteller, and she's, you know, growing up would tell me lots of myths and stories and histories and folklores. Folklores are a huge thing in my house. So I was pulling on what I know. Of course, I reached a point where I had to do extra research because there's just only so much you can know within like a familial space. And I'm so grateful to everyone who has started to kind of document Yoruba culture as opposed to just hoping to meet someone who knows enough about it. So I never felt like I was too far away from the culture to feel like I was writing something different. Just because it's like writing about my family or the king in my village. It's still something that's very close to me. I do live in London now, but I moved here about 8 years ago, and I try to go home like once a year. So for me, I still haven't quite, my mindset hasn't quite shifted to thinking of myself as other from Nigeria or from where I grew up. So I think that's just a natural progression. It would have been different, I think, if I wasn't born in Nigeria. But because I think I have a slight advantage in that I already think this way. I'm just writing what like I know. It's much harder even to learn like Western things. So like I did have to do research on 3-act structures because we don't tell our stories in 3-act structures. So I had to do more foundational learning in how to write a novel, what the hero's arc is like, what a 3-act, 4-act, and 5-act structure is like. Our storytelling is more similar to Japanese storytelling than it is to Western storytelling. So like those are things that I had to do research on, and I felt a bit unsure of. But like the cultural aspects of it, because it is my culture that I'm quite very steeped in. I didn't think about it like that because it just wasn't relevant.
Is what it is. No, you know what? And I applaud and thank you for that answer, because we are forced, I guess, into these little boxes of, you know, how your book or yourself identify. And it's always, you know, how is this going to place in the market, and where would it go with this, and who is going to be. That's what I was getting at in terms of people are going to say, well, it's like this. If you're a fan of this, then you'll be a fan of this. Like, they want to put you into these spaces, whereas your answer isn't rooted in anything that's necessarily similar in terms of race or culture. It's similar in terms of, do you like epic fantasy, lots of characters, elemental magic, romance, blah, blah, blah. These are not generic. These are general tropes and terms that everyone can read.
That's exactly the conversation that I had with my editor and with my team. Right. We're not pitching this as a Black fantasy, because readers would, like, everyone can do what they want, but from the publisher, it needs to be fantasy first.
Yes.
And I think my team has really taken that on board.
Yeah.
In just panels that put me in, I very strictly avoid diversity panels. So I want to be on a world building panel. I want to be on a fantasy panel. Yes. I want to talk about the things that are unique in my book, but not necessarily because they are Black. Like, there's no white people in this book, so like there's no need to emphasize that anymore.
Like, why are we talking on about this? It goes without saying. Everybody.
Yeah. So that's not the main point of it.
Yes. Thank you. I love the answers. Thank you. No, because it's very much a I say a pet peeve, but it's a thing of mine. It's like, we do want to champion ourselves as being a part of the culture and all of that good stuff, but that's not my identity. Is that the right word? Like, I'm not pushing that forward. I'm pushing a book forward that I want you to enjoy, that is about fantasy, that's about love, that's about political intrigue, that's about, your villains and your morally grey. All of those things exist no matter who or what I am. And that idea of trying to force us just into this space is counterproductive, I think. And so I really do love that answer. But yes, so I digress.
And they'll figure it out with the Black girl on the cover. we had to have another meeting about, because the UK does not like Black people on covers, and this is like fact, not this is the reason. Mostly because I have had friends who had Black people on their cover, and the racist comments and the outrage. And I remember, again, I had to have a meeting with Bex and say, if for any reason we don't have a lot of sales after we've chosen this cover that we love, I just want you to know that this is a fact. And I sent her all the evidence, and she's like, okay, fine. She took it internally. They had a meeting. So I think they showed it to different people in different departments. And then they had like a focus group where they showed it to booksellers from like different stores. So like they did a proper search, and like everybody loves it. And we're like, okay, really fine. Nice. But these are the kind of things where I'm like, I don't know that every editor would take that into account. And it terrifies me to, ever think that I might have an editor who would not be that way, because I know many, unfortunately, author friends who are in positions where they're just not being heard, or their concerns are not being taken seriously. But for all their faults, I do have a team that takes my concerns very seriously.
Awesome. We love Marve's team. All part of it. We love Marve's team. So FIRSTBORN of the Sun. So I'm gonna butcher everyone's names. I'm sorry. Lore?
Yes.
Yeah. Lore is she's an interesting one.
Yeah, she is. She can be a bit annoying, but she's just a girl.
Just a girl. Like, so I enjoyed her. Like, base, I enjoyed her. You can be reading some things where you're like, you just want to wring someone's neck. Like, I did enjoy her. Did I enjoy some decisions she made? Maybe because not. Of boys.
Because of boys.
Probably not. Because of boys. Probably not. But her as a main character, she was very interesting. I did enjoy like her kind of internal struggle with, having to kind of hide her lack of power.
Akbar, yeah.
Akbar, like, having to hide that, and everyone else has it and it makes you different and all this kind of stuff. I felt that. I was with sis on that one. Then it was the love for Alawani,
yeah.
And I was with sis on that one too, until the whole, we're going to try and not have spoilers, guys. But then I was with sis until the whole tattoo thing. And it was just like, it wasn't, do you know what I mean? Like, he didn't,
from her perspective, I tried to defend my babe. From her perspective, her world is very small.
Yes.
So she doesn't have enough friends to lose. Like, she hasn't enough anything to lose. So to us who have these really full lives where we're not restricted in any way, it feels like boys are like a dime a dozen. You get another one. But to her, it's like there's one person who's liked her and protected her, and you know they were friends first, and so not even romantically liked her, but has come into her corner. And to be her friend means that you have to be fine with the fact that other people won't talk to you. And so together they've lived in this bubble that felt protected from the rest of the world. And she thought this is how things will continue to go. I will always have my dad, and I will always have this one person who's chosen me and given me a space to exist in the world, because you know, I try to show that when she's walking alone at night or during the day, she's attacked, but when he's with her, people don't bother her. So he's a bit of a protector in that way, even just by his presence. And then someone comes and says he has to go. She's like, what? So for her, it's not just a boy. This is half my world. If he dies, it's just me and my dad. We're going back to.
And the thing is, all of that was understood. Obviously, it was crafted wonderfully in that, you know, I understood what she was losing. But I think the frustrations, and this is, you know, where you put your self-insert, I would never, blah, 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 blah. It was just like, he's telling you this, as in, if he was saying, I don't want to go either, then cool, let's fight it out, babes. Like, I'm gonna stay. But he literally said to you, I'm trying to go
do it. No, and she's like, you don't know.
She's like, you don't know what you want.
You don't know what you want. This was Lauren's entire arc in book one is Lauren needs to learn to let people live their own lives.
She's to listen. She's to listen to what people are telling you.
That is what she's learning.
Right. But no, as I said, all jokes aside, that was enjoyable because there's a very slight difference between main characters that irritate you so much that you're not enjoying it, or they irritate you to a place of, girl, you have to see what they do.
Like you want to sit them down and talk to them.
Exactly. So I definitely enjoyed her. Sorry, the girl, the warrior girl. What's her name?
Milua.
She's my favorite.
She is.
Milua was the baddest bitch out. She was just giving what was supposed to be given. By
the time this is out, we would have had the cover reveal, which is the 1st of June. So Milua is on the cover, so everyone would have seen that by now. So we have Laura and Milua on the cover, which I thought was really interesting.
I'm trying to find her. Here she goes.
Oh. Yeah, that's her.
Yeah, got my pretty art here. But no, she was amazing. And I loved, well, one, we have the quadruple POV.
Yes,
which was good. And a lot of the times you're like, wow, 4 people, but no, it was all doing good. But Milua, I loved the hidden secrets obviously behind her paternity, and with the kind of grandma lady who like trains them and stuff, the horrible old lady. And again, ages ago, bear with me, I'm so sorry. But no, all of that built such a fleshed out character, even though she wasn't necessarily the main character, you know, she was like secondary main or whatever, but she was that dark to Lore's light, and they balanced.
That's exactly what she is.
Yeah, they balanced out each other really well. So when you were, you know, kind of living soft life with Lore and I love him and I want to go and save him and all this stuff, you just had this girl that was like, girl, what? It was amazing. It was really, really good. And I wouldn't be doing, you know, anyone a service if I didn't mention the kind of Avatar adjacentness of it. That is just so cool. Like how you imagine their use of their Agbara was really good, in the sense of, oh, we've got fire magic, I burn people. Okay, great. But there were just so many different ways they were able to use it, and seeing how Alawani used it. And I was like, oh, I never would have thought of that. That was really, you know, I really
a lot of anime inspiration. So definitely Avatar and lots of other anime, like Fire. My husband's a real anime person, so I was just like, give me everything with heat energy, ice energy, cold energy. And there's a super wiki website that I live on, and I watch all the stickman fight. Like I do a lot of research into that, so I appreciate that. But what I wanted to be different with fire versus ice is with Agbara, they don't actually create fire, which I realized that one of my editors did not understand until book 2, because there's a scene in book 2 where Laura starts a fire, and the person she's with is like, turn that out, we're in a cave, we're going to lose oxygen. And then she uses Hagbara instead. And the note said, how's that different? I'm like, wait, did you not know all this time? So Agbara is just, it's heat energy.
Yes.
It's not fire. So they can't actually create fire. However, of course, if there's a spark, they can make it bigger. They can control the flames once they're there.
But it doesn't come from within.
It doesn't come from them. It's just heat and light. And versus, flame. So they do need something to spark a flame. But because it's energy, they are able to spark flames very quickly, very easily. But I just wanted that differentiation, which then allows them to do more creative things like, heat up a pot of a kettle or a pot, and use it to cook and use it for like menial things, which I wanted to show as well. So
no, and that definitely makes sense, because even things like X-Men, there's, I can't remember what his name is, probably Pyro or something, but he walks around constantly with a lighter because he can't make fire. He can manipulate fire, but without any flame, he's completely useless. He can't do anything. People who can literally burst into flame, so Human Torch or blah 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 blah, that's a completely different thing, friends. So that's definitely understood, which is really nice. It's just so wonderful to have those. Just they seem tiny to us or to people, but they just make a whole world of difference, because I feel like part of crafting a novel that has world building and magic systems is that I'll be writing something and I'll say to my boyfriend or my mom or whoever, what's wrong with this? And they'll be like, what do you mean? You don't want me to tell you it's good? And I was like, no, that's not what I mean. What am I possibly not seeing? If you read this and thought, well, why didn't they just? That's the problem. You need to find, well, if he can run so fast, why doesn't his eyebrows fall off or something? It's like, why are his eyes not stinging because he's going at the speed of light? You have to see what could not work in order to tweak the system. So it's good to know that you've thought about you thought about things. Quick segue. You mentioned obviously book 2.
Yes.
Book 2 is Heir of the Shadow. Is that correct? Yeah. So it's out. When is it out? Next year? Do you have a date?
This year.
Oh,
this year. And deadline now. It's out in November.
Oh, nice. Did you have an official date or no?
26th, I believe. I literally just got this like 2 days ago. But
okay, no, that's really good. I mean, I don't know if you've just said that. Have you posted that somewhere?
No, I haven't. But fine. They'll figure out eventually.
Exclusive. No, so Heir of the Shadow will be out in November this year. Because first one came out October last year.
Yeah.
Yes, it's gone so fast. I was like, this year? Thinking this came out this year. No, it came out last year. No, that's really good. So you're on deadline. Are you excited? Like, what's
I am.
Book? What's the feeling of, you've done it, can you do it again? That kind of
stuff. I think that was definitely, because I started writing it as soon as I got off tour last year, and it was a weird form of imposter syndrome where I was comparing my new draft to like the already polished book, and I'm like, I probably shouldn't, because this book was really hard to edit the first time around. But I think I've gotten into a place where I'm really happy with how it's turning out. I do have to, so in this edit, I'm just making things a bit clearer, adjusting some of the themes that we have, but it's still our 4 main characters. No, actually, we have 5 point of view characters now, because we have one more person.
The guy at the end, is it him?
The guy at the end, yes. He starts the book, so he's in the prologue for book 2, which you will find at the end of the paperback. So if you get the paperback, you'll actually be able to read the prologue.
Oh, the first chapter. Oh, nice.
Okay. So we have 5 voices now, just adding him in. And of course, Milua plays a larger role now, because we are still trying to figure out who her dad is.
Who the daddy? Who the pappy? Yeah.
And I think I had an edit note that said, oh, I didn't know Milua was looking for her dad. I'm like, what? Since book 1?
You know what? I'm super ignorant sometimes. When I get an editor note that's like, did you read it? Because it was right there.
And I think, sometimes it's their way of telling me write it more, or like have more places where you say that. That's pretty much what my notes have been, because in my mind, book 2 starts exactly where book 1 ends. So I would have notes like, oh, you remind us her relationship with Alawani. I'm like, that was the whole book.
Yes.
But because it's like a new book, you have to like repeat it.
Yes, you have to go over. You have to write it as though it's hasn't just come out immediately. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Like people will do the whole, oh, it came out 6 months ago. Do I have to do a reread? No. So you got to write as though they don't know anything. Like one of my editor notes things is always write as though people aren't smart. Like you have to repeat everything over again.
Which frustrates me, to be honest.
It does, because then you turn around and say, cut your words. Well,
yeah, exactly.
You told me to add them. You told me to say this again. I don't know. So that's really, really exciting. I mean, so obviously you're on deadline for book 2, so that means obviously book 3, hasn't even started yet. Did you have, or do you have an outline of
a very rough synopsis? So just a rough idea. So, Laura needs to leave the kingdom, get to Otu to come back to Oru. That's her entire arc. Yeah. So at the moment she's left Oru, she's getting to Otutu, and then she does have to come back. So like just that, those kind of 3 lines, that's like the summary for like the trilogy. And so we're just kind of following her as she makes the rounds. And I knew that at the end of the series there needs to be a really big war, because there's something brewing beneath the surface. Yes. Which you'll see a lot more in book 2. Nice. Yeah.
No, I'm excited. I am very much excited.
Many surprises. I'm very excited for like the arcs to start going out. A few surprises I have in there. Some good, some sad.
Okay. I mean, I'm going to be completely shameless and say, if you want to send me one, I would be happy to get one.
Of course. Happy. If I can meet this deadline and get the arcs out, I will. Yeah.
No, as you like, I'm taking what's it called? I'm taking inspiration from you. If you don't ask, you don't get. So.
Oh yeah, of course.
But no, I would love to catch up with these guys, because you know who we've got. I'm gonna get you to say the names properly. So
that's Milwa.
What?
Oh, that is let me see the other character. That's Alawani.
Yes, I think it is.
No, that's Tofa, sorry.
Oh yes,
Alawani is pink. Yeah. That's Tofa because he has the large sword.
Yeah.
And this is Lore.
Okay.
And Alawani is the lover boy. So their swords are similar, which is why I forget. But I remember choosing pink because he's like the lover boy.
He is. The lover man. Oh god, I think no, it was at the launch that I actually met you, and the first thing was I said that how they, part ways, or however you want to say it. I was furious.
I know.
I was furious. I think in my review it was just like I just put men.
Men. That summarizes it very well.
Men. I can't. But no, as I said, there is anger, and then there's I'm so invested in this, I'm furious, and it's that version. So I was really excited.
His point of view comes in really early in book 2, so you get to hear all his thoughts.
Okay, because we're gonna need explanations, baby. You're gonna need to answer for yourself, okay? But no, it was really, I enjoyed it immensely. Let's put some stuff on here. So the paperback is out the 4th of June. I think I'm joining for, is it a launch party or kind of a?
Yes, so we do have a launch party with the New Black at Shoreditch. It's this amazing space. I went there for like a podcast recording, and I was just like, I need to be back in this space. So I think we'll have a great time. There'll be food as usual, because my pet peeve is not eating. Public events.
Like I said, we met briefly before, so I'll be able to meet you properly, obviously post that at that event, which is really, really good. Heir of the Shadow is out in November, so that's good. Anything else you want to share with us before we say goodbye?
Well, keep your eyes out. I do have another novel coming out, but I don't know when. Okay. But I will, if you kind of follow me on my pages or sign up to my newsletter, you hear about it first, because I can't keep a secret to save my life.
I love that. No, I'm the same. I mean, when good things are happening, you got to tell about good things, man. Love that. Love that. Okay, thank you so much again for joining me on Books and Shit. For everybody, we've got information on the screen to follow Just Marv Writes on Instagram, to stay up to date with all things Firstborn of the Sun and its sequel. Make sure to follow myself, Charli Author, at Charli Author on all socials, as well as charliauthor.com for all updates about Books and Shit and other authors I'm speaking to or have spoken to, and just all other bookish things and fun stuff. Hope to speak to you guys again soon. Thank you again to Marv for joining, and see you soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.